everyone, my name is Rachel and I work at the Grass Valley Library, and welcome to our first installment of #Food Basics. So we're really glad to have you. This program is just meant to help you learn the basics of food, whether that's cooking, how to read a recipe, how to eat healthy, or how to eat on a budget. So that's kind of the basics of what we're doing today. All of the health information that we're talking about today, I'm pulling directly from the FDA, the USDA, and MyPlate.gov. And we'll be linking to that at the bottom of this page. The other thing that I'd like noted is this is a very tough time for a lot of us, and a lot of us are just struggling and making do with what we got. If you are struggling with food insecurity or having problems with finding out what's going to be on your table next, please don't be afraid to reach out. We have a lot of organizations in Nevada County that are happy to help you get the food for you and your families. I'll be linking to our CalFresh program, our Women's Infants and Children's program, and the Food Pantry of Nevada County. So all of those are Nevada County organizations that are here to help you. So please look for those at the bottom of the comments. All right, so what are we talking about today? We are going to discuss what is that crazy nutrition label and how do I read it? We're going to talk about food plate. What's that? Where'd my food pyramid go? And we're going to talk about how to read a recipe. So let's get started. So you may have seen something like this on your back of your food, and we're going to discuss what all of this information means right there. So some of the basics to note, we're going to talk about serving size, calories, we're going to talk about daily values and percentages, and we're going to talk about ingredients. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to point out to you is serving size. So a serving size is how much is designated as the portion based on the values that you're going to get out of it. So for example, a serving of apple would be an apple. A serving of pizza would be a slice of pizza. And on the back of that label for that pizza or that apple is going to be the percentage of those values that you're getting from that serving. If you double your serving or triple your serving, you're doubling or tripling those values. So that includes double the calories, or double the sodium, or double the fiber, or double the vitamin C. Doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It's just to keep in mind when you're eating how much your serving equals into how much nutrition you're getting out of it. So for example, on this one, our serving size is 3 pretzels. This is how much our values are per serving, but this also notes that this container has 3 servings. So if you were, say, to eat the whole bag of pretzels, you're going to eat 3 times the serving size. Okay? Makes sense? Great. All right. Next thing we want to talk about is, what do these percentages mean? So these percentages are based off of the 2,000 calorie a day diet, which is what an average person would eat. Okay? That doesn't mean that that's what you should be eating. Please contact your physician or nutritionist for your personal amount, but that is based off of the average American. So as you look, you can just go straight across and know that the total fat is this percentage, cholesterol, that percentage, sodium, this percentage, fiber, etc., etc. Okay, so ideally, the USDA recommends and the FDA recommends that you eat less saturated fat, less sodium, and less added sugars, and more dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. So if something has 5% or less, it's considered low on that item. If it has 20% or more, it's considered high on that item. So if you look on our pretzels, you'll see that if we double our serving, we have already we triple our serving, we're already at half of our sodium serving for the day. We keep to our regular one, we're at about 17%, so it's a little high, but not actually considered high by the USDA. All right, and the last thing I'm gonna note for you guys is, it's not listed on here, but our ingredients list. And one important thing to note on our ingredients list is the closer it is to the beginning, the more there's in there. So it's going to list in order what has the most of that product. So if the first ingredient is apple, it's going to be majoritively made of apples. If the first ingredient is sugar, then it's going to be majoritively made of sugar. All right. We're all on board? Excellent. All right. So that is your basics of reading a nutrition label. Next thing we're going to talk about is, so if you were a child of the 90s, you remember this from school. I definitely do. So this was a campaign by the USDA to promote healthy eating during the 90s. And what became a problem with the food pyramid was that people got confused about what exactly was part of it and what exactly they should be having on their plates on a daily basis. So as you can see, it's going to say 6 to 11 servings of wheat, 2 to 4 servings of fruit, 3 to 5 servings of vegetables, and that's a little hard to recreate on your daily basis. So instead, they have created the Choose My Plate, which is much easier. So we'll link to this on the bottom, but again, just an easy way to remember when you're making your meal, what do I put on it? So you want to have majoritively vegetables, you want to have fruits, protein, grains, and a little bit of dairy. So just keeping this in mind when you're making something like, say, your lunch or your dinner, how you're going to set up those serving sizes. So that's a really good, easy visual way to see it. And that was kind of the reason they made that big change, was because this is a lot more easy to see on a daily basis and recreate than making a pyramid out of your food every day. Okay? All right, last but not least, we're going to talk about how to read a recipe. So just so you know, part of our hashtag Food Basics program is once a month we also give away a grab bag with fun stuff for you to use in the kitchen that you can then recreate at home. So one of the things that we gave away this time was a family cookbook called Kids Get Cooking. So we're going to talk about how to read a recipe. And these are very simple recipes, and I can show you some harder ones too. But for right now, we'll start with the simple ones. So the basics of reading a recipe is, number one, read everything first. Don't start cooking before you know exactly what you're doing. So some important points to note. You're going to want to see the prep time and the cook time ahead of time. So you want to make sure that you know exactly how much time you're giving to this, because you don't want to have invited someone over in 5 minutes and you realize it's going to be 2 hours until you eat. Read through your full ingredient list and look out for items that might need extra time to prep. So if the ingredient list calls for softened butter or cooked bacon, you're going to know that you have to do those things before you even start with your cooking. All right. Then you want to make sure you've read through the whole recipe, and then you can start with what's called a mise en place. And some people may have heard this on Fancy Food Network shows. So a mise en place just means everything in your place. So you want to have everything chopped, ready. What you don't want to happen is you don't want to be running around the kitchen trying to grab all your ingredients as you are trying to stir and something boiling. You don't want that. So try and have all your ingredients in front of you before you start cooking. All right, and that's the basics of reading a recipe. I'd love to see what recipes you guys come up with. And one quick book recommendation before we go. In our collection, we have this book called Good and Cheap. It is also available for free as a PDF that we will link to in Spanish and English. And what this is it shows you recipes that you can be using on a budget. So each recipe will feature the cost point per serving and total. And these are intended to help you, if you're on a budget, try and plan some tasty, delicious, healthy meals without breaking the bank. So highly recommend it. Like I said, it is in our library collection if you would like it, but if you want, it's going to be linked down in the comments, so just look at it for it there. All right. So that's our first installment, and I had a really great time with you. If you have any questions, please come and chat with us. And thank you so much for listening to me talk. All right, bye.